Ever gotten frustrated waiting for a software update or like hit a snag with a glitchy app? Well, today we're diving deep into the world of DevOps, a
Yeah,
field that emerged as a solution to these very problems.
that's a great way to put it. Yeah, it's a journey from a world of siloed teams and like all those tech headaches to a more collaborative and efficient approach to building and delivering software.
Okay, let's unpack this. So before DevOps, we had this thing called the Waterfall model. What was that all about, and why did it ultimately lead to so much frustration?
The waterfall model, it was all about rigid sequential steps. You'd
Hmm.
start with planning, then move to development, then testing, and finally deployment. The problem was it was like a slow-moving train. It took ages to get from idea to release, and if you found a problem like late in the game, well, you were in for a whole lot of rework and delays.
Uh, I can only imagine the headaches. It sounds like a recipe for finger pointing and missed deadlines.
Exactly. The waterfall model just couldn't keep up with the growing complexity of software and the demand for faster releases. Something had to change.
So here's where it gets really interesting. Agile methodologies like XP and Scrum started gaining traction in the early 2000s. Were these the seeds of the DevOps revolution?
Absolutely. Agile was the major shift in thinking. It emphasized iterative development collaboration and, most importantly, rapid feedback loops. Suddenly, developers weren't working in isolation anymore. They were interacting with stakeholders, getting user feedback early and often, and releasing updates much more frequently.
It sounds like a breath of fresh air compared to that rigid waterfall approach, but how did these agile ideas actually translate to the real world? Did they really make a difference?
Oh, a huge difference. Think back to the early days of Flickr in 2009. They gave this legendary presentation called 10 plus deploys per day.
Oh, wow.
They showed the world that by embracing agile principles and fostering collaboration between dev and ops teams, they could not only release updates incredibly fast, but do so reliably.
Wait, 10 deploys per day? That's mind-blowing compared to what most companies were doing back then. What was their secret sauce?
It was all about breaking down those silos between development and operations. They realized that if these teams worked together, shared responsibility, and communicated constantly,
Yeah.
they could achieve incredible things.
So it wasn't just about adopting a new methodology. It was a fundamental shift in culture collaboration became the cornerstone.
Precisely, and this cultural shift was further fueled by the emergence of automation tools like Chef Puppet and Ansible.
Okay.
These tools tackled the pain points of manual infrastructure management, which was time-consuming and prone to errors.
So instead of manually configuring servers and setting up environments, they could automate those tasks, freeing up their time for more strategic work, right?
Exactly. Automation reduced errors, increased consistency, and allowed teams to move much faster. Think of it like this. Imagine having a robot that can perfectly replicate your server setup with just a few lines of code.
Whoa.
No more tedious manual configuration, no more inconsistencies between environments.
That's a game changer. It sounds like automation was a key ingredient in making DevOps work in practice.
Absolutely. And as automation gained momentum, we saw the rise of CI/CD pipelines,
Hmm.
continuous integration and continuous delivery. These automated the entire build, test, deploy cycle, allowing for smoother and faster releases.
Okay, so CI/CD pipelines are like these automated conveyor belts, taking code from development all the way to production with minimal human intervention.
That's a great analogy. It allows developers to focus on writing code and innovating, while the pipeline takes care of the repetitive tasks, making the whole process much more efficient and reliable.
This all sounds incredibly innovative, but I'm curious about the human element. What kind of mindset did people need to thrive in this new world of DevOps?
That's a great question, and one we should definitely delve deeper into because as we move into the 2010s,
Yeah.
we see DevOps evolving beyond just tools and practices. It becomes a cultural movement. And understanding this cultural shift is key to understanding what makes a successful DevOps engineer.
Okay, so it's not just about knowing the tools, it's about embracing a new way of working, a new way of thinking.
Exactly. But before we jump into the specifics of the DevOps mindset, let's take a closer look at some of the other key advancements that shaped the evolution of DevOps. As DevOps started gaining momentum, we saw a shift in how infrastructure was managed.
Hmm.
Instead of physical servers and manual configurations, we started seeing the rise of infrastructure as code, or IAC.
IAC. That sounds intriguing. So instead of physically configuring servers, you're writing code to define and manage your infrastructure.
Exactly. Tools like Terraform and CloudFormation became the architects of this new world.
Hmm.
With IA, you could treat your infrastructure like software with version control, automated deployments, and all the benefits that come with it.
That's a huge leap forward. So no more manual tweaking and potential for human error.
Well, there's always some level of human involvement,
Right.
but IA significantly reduces the risk of errors and inconsistencies. Plus, it makes scaling your infrastructure much easier. Need to spin up 100 new servers. With IAC, it's just a matter of running a script.
This is all starting to paint a picture of a much more efficient and reliable way to build and deliver software. What other key advancements emerged during this period?
Around the same time, cloud computing platforms like AWS Azure and Google Cloud started gaining traction.
Yeah,
They provided the perfect playground for DevOps practices to flourish.
I can see why the cloud offers scalability, flexibility, and a whole suite of tools that align perfectly with the DevOps philosophy.
Precisely. And with the cloud, we saw the rise of microservices and containerization.
Have you hold on microservices and containerization? Break those down for me.
Sure, think of microservices like breaking down a large monolithic application into smaller independent services. Each service has its own specific function and can be developed, deployed, and scaled independently.
Ah, so instead of one giant unwieldy application, you have these smaller interconnected modules that can be managed more easily.
Exactly. And containerization using tools like Docker allows you to package these microservices and their dependencies into portable containers that can run consistently across different environments. It's like shipping a mini server in a box, ensuring everything works seamlessly wherever it goes.
This all sounds incredibly complex. How do teams keep track of all these moving parts?
That's where observability and monitoring come in, tools that provide real-time insights into application performance, infrastructure health, and user experience.
So it's like having a dashboard that shows you the pulse of your entire system, allowing you to detect and resolve issues quickly.
Exactly. And with the rise of DevSecOps, security was integrated directly into the development lifecycle. Security became everyone's responsibility, not just a separate team's afterthought.
Security is crucial in today's digital world. We've all heard about those data breaches and cyber attacks. Integrating security from the ground up sounds like a smart move.
It's essential. And speaking of smart moves, let's circle back to your earlier question about the DevOps mindset. You ask what type of mindset a computer scientist needs to thrive in this world.
Yeah,
Well, collaboration and communication are paramount.
that makes sense. Breaking down those silos between dev and ops is key, right?
Absolutely. A successful DevOps engineer needs to be a team player, someone who can communicate effectively with developers, operations folks, and other stakeholders. They need to be able to explain complex technical concepts clearly and concisely.
So strong communication skills are a must-have. What else?
A passion for automation and efficiency. A good DevOps engineer isn't afraid to dive into scripting languages like Python or Bash to automate repetitive tasks and streamline processes.
So they need to be comfortable working with code, but not necessarily building full-fledged applications. It's more about using code to automate and improve workflows.
Precisely. And they need to have a thirst for continuous learning and adaptability. The DevOps world is constantly evolving with new tools and technologies emerging all the time.
It sounds like a field where you can never stop learning.
That's the beauty of it. It keeps things interesting and challenging. A successful DevOps engineer is always curious, always exploring, and always looking for ways to improve.
So we've got collaboration, automation, and continuous learning. Anything else?
Yes, a security-first mindset. A good DevOps engineer understands that security is everyone's responsibility and that it needs to be baked into every stage of the development lifecycle.
That makes sense. Security can't be an afterthought in today's digital world.
Absolutely. And finally, resilience and problem-solving skills are crucial. Systems will inevitably fail, bugs will pop up, and unexpected challenges will arise.
So a good DevOps engineer needs to be able to stay calm under pressure, think critically, and find solutions quickly.
Exactly. They need to be able to troubleshoot problems, identify root causes, and implement fixes effectively.
So it sounds like a successful DevOps engineer needs like a unique blend of technical skills, communication abilities, and a problem-solving mindset. It's not just about writing code, it's about understanding that entire software lifecycle and how to optimize it for speed, efficiency, and reliability.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's a multifaceted role that requires a holistic understanding of software development operations and the business goals they serve.
This has been a fascinating journey. We've gone from the rigid waterfall model to this world of agile automation and continuous improvement. And it all started with this simple but powerful idea. What if we could break down the barriers between development and operations?
And that question sparked a movement that has transformed the tech industry. It's fascinating to see how DevOps has evolved from a niche concept to a mainstream approach embraced by organizations of all sizes across various industries.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into DevOps, what's the key takeaway for our listeners? What should they be pondering as they go about their day?
I think the most important takeaway is that DevOps is more than just a set of tools or practices. It's a cultural shift, a way of thinking that prioritizes collaboration, automation, and continuous learning. These principles can be applied far beyond the realm of software development.
That's an interesting thought. So even if you're not a software engineer, the principles of DevOps can still be valuable in other fields.
Absolutely. Think about any field where efficiency, innovation, and customer satisfaction are important. Healthcare, finance, manufacturing, even education. The principles of breaking down silos, automating processes, and constantly seeking ways to improve can have a transformative impact.
That's a powerful message. So whether you're building software or streamlining processes in a completely different industry, the DevOps mindset can be a valuable asset.
Exactly. Embrace collaboration, seek out opportunities for automation, never stop learning, and always put the customer first. Those are the core tenets of DevOps, and they can lead to incredible results no matter what field you're in.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into the world of DevOps. We've covered a lot of ground, from the historical evolution to the key tools and technologies, and most importantly, the mindset that makes a successful DevOps engineer.
And remember, the journey doesn't end here. The world of DevOps is constantly evolving with new innovations and ideas emerging all the time.
So to our listeners, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Who knows, maybe you'll be the one to pioneer the next big breakthrough in DevOps or apply its principles to revolutionize a completely different industry. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep on learning and innovating.